So we're prepping baby back ribs. One of the key components to baby back ribs and making them really nice and tender when you cook them is to take this membrane off the back of the rib. It's a little bit tricky, but all you need to do is get a good sharp knife, get underneath the edge of it, just get it started. Once that membrane's started, grab a paper towel, hold on to the rib, grab the end of the membrane and tug. Sometimes it doesn't work. So you come back and you cut another piece at the top of one of the bones, get the membrane started, get back to your paper towel. Worst case, you break out the pliers, but usually the paper towel will get you there, and you pull that membrane straight off. Now in this case, we had a couple pieces stay behind. Take your paper towel, grab that edge, pull it back. And let's see if we get this piece right here. Sometimes it fights you, but there we go. So it's all off. You notice that turns nice and easily now. So as we get ready to prep it to put rub on it, we're going to section these because we're just going to rub these and put them in a Ziploc bag overnight so that they can get good and marinated and ready for our slow cook tomorrow. And there you go. So this is Memphis rub we're going to put on here. So we're just going to mark our Ziploc bag with what's on it and today's date. And we're very simply going to rub these real quick. We're going to put some paper towel down. We've got our Memphis rub here. We'll take that rib and just give it a generous coating all sides of the rib. It's really important to make sure that it gets good and coated. Okay, be really generous with it. Now we're going to put that in the Ziploc bag. We're going to start with a little bit of rub. And you can get a whole rib, 3 full sections. Don't forget the edges. You can get 3 full sections in that Ziploc bag pretty nicely. And again, it takes just a minute. Make sure you get a good coating. Again, whether you use a spoon or whether you use your fingers, it's all good. Press that in. Now what you'll notice when you open this bag tomorrow before we go to cook it is that there'll be some liquid. There is salt and sugar in the rub, and that brings forward some of that liquid out of the meat. Don't worry about that, it's all good. The more you coat it, the less you have that issue. The Memphis in particular does not have a lot of sugar in it, so you won't see too much of that. And that's it. Voila, now all we need to do is close these guys up. Wash your hands because now we got rub all over us. Burp the air out and in the fridge overnight. Remember to bring them back to room temperature before you cook them. And that's it. So in preparation to cook our ribs, very simply we want to take a pan, spray it with some cooking oil. I think I mentioned to you that the salt and sugar helps let some fluid, but you can see how nicely the rub is adhered to that. So I'll show you a little trick that we do in order to enhance those ribs. You just want to get them as flat as you can. It's okay if they overlap, but it's better if they're straight on the surface. So we'll get them all in there nice and neat. Okay, discard that. Now what we want to do is we want to take some more rub and just put a nice coating on the top of the rub, top of the ribs. And this is just going to help absorb a little bit of that moisture and add to the crust as it goes into the oven. This is going to go into a 225-degree oven, and that's going to go for 3.5 hours with foil over the top, which we'll do now. And the foil is really there just to trap the moisture so that they don't dry out on you. And then in 3.5 hours, you'll have some beautiful ribs, and we'll be back then. All right, so these ribs have been for 3.5, actually 3 hours, 45 minutes in a 225 oven. No smoker required. The fluid that's in there is just from the ribs themselves, so we'll take these guys out. It's good to let them stand for a few minutes before you cut them. Notice it's nice drippings in that pan. And these ribs are dry, considered dry. Let me finish putting those there. Move this pan out of the way. Now the trick with ribs, especially when if you're going to cut them for your guests, is that there is what's known as a knuckle bone that runs along the back side of the rib. So when you cut them, you might have to angle them just a little bit as you cut through. See how that just falling off the bone. So there's a nice rib. You notice that it's still got the color from the rub. And it's super tender. And again, those are baby back ribs. $2.25. 3 hours 45 minutes for these particular ribs. You can go a little bit less if they're thinner. I like to make sure that they're fall off the bone tender. That extra 15 minutes makes a difference. So we slice those away. Get them all nice and plated up. We'll slice this last one. Leave the last one whole. And there is a plate of really nice ribs without a smoker. Now you can serve those with or without sauce. That's entirely up to you. If you choose to do sauce, I recommend Sweet Baby Ray's. It's one of my favorites. Personally, I think you can enjoy these ribs without any at all sauce. And look at how nice the coloration is from that rub. Tastes pretty darn good too. Thank you.